Okay, so American Horror Story is back with season 12 of the show, and following a very divisive season 11 last year, this one seems as though it's gone a little bit more back to its roots, and do you know what? I didn't actually mind this first episode. With a darkness that's already present, questions around every corner, and I'm gonna say it, some NPC style acting from a certain individual, let's recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from this episode. So let's get into it. Here is American Horror Story Season 12 Episode 1, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The meaning of the Genesis extract. The very first thing that we saw when the new season opened was a quote from the Bible from the book of Genesis. The quote was, "Unto the woman he said, I will multiply thy pain and thy conception. In pain thou shalt bring forth children." This is a quote that was focused around Adam and Eve's disobedience in the fact that they ate the fruit from the tree after being persuaded by the serpent. Following this, God put a curse upon Eve, and it was intended to be something that not only impacted her, but the future of humankind and the way that life would be created moving forward. What was once a world without restriction and was considered perfect was now going to be transformed due to the actions that Adam and Eve took. For example, the extract's core message is that children are something that will bring you joy, but you'll have to go through a tremendous amount of pain in order to get that happiness that will come in the future, something which wasn't apparent until God put it upon Eve following what she did. This is something that could be symbolic of the direction of the show and the route that the character Anna could end up taking. We saw that she'd gone through a lot of trouble in trying to conceive a child, and this wasn't her first time going down that specific route, meaning that she's already gone through a tremendous amount of pain and suffering. But with all of the darkness that's also present in the show, the impending suffering and torment that it seems as though she's going to have to endure could be the pain that's mentioned in Genesis. But if she goes through it, then she may be rewarded as God intended in the quotes, by a child that will eventually bring her joy. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's something that will happen as the episodes go on. The symbolism in the episode: eggs, spiders, and goats. Within the early part of the episode, we saw that as Anna walked outside, she saw this mysterious woman, which was played by Cara Delevingne, looking down at something on the floor. As Anna walked over there, we saw that it was a bird's nest that had an egg inside of it that had been cracked due to it falling on the floor. This is something that I think is connected to what we saw at the beginning of the episode, and also later on at the end when the intruder was inside Anna's apartment. We saw that Anna was trying for a baby and she was given the photo of the embryo. However, after her house was broken into, we saw that the photo that she cared so much about and was her piece of hope for the happiness in her future was torn in half, almost serving as a crack in the photo, just like how the egg was in the nest. So I think this could be symbolic of the fact that there's going to be something that happens to her unborn baby. Whether it be that the process doesn't work or something may end up going wrong during the pregnancy, maybe leading to a miscarriage. With the final note on the mirror essentially saying to her that she shouldn't do it, meaning that she shouldn't have the baby, it feels like this season of the show is very much going to be focused on something making her feel as though she shouldn't have a baby, or a presence that's preventing her from having one. Maybe they're viewing the baby as an evil presence. The fact that in the opening title sequence the baby looks like a demonic type of creature, maybe the thing could be that she believes that there's some kind of monster inside of her. I find it interesting that spiders seem to hold a relatively main focus in this first episode so far. Spiders can be symbolic of many things, but in terms of biblical representation, the spider's web is something which is set to represent fragility. So the fact that we saw a spider on Anna's head and her pulling a single thread of hair out, almost like a strand of a spider's web, it could stand for the fragility that she has in her mind, meaning that what we're watching may not actually be happening, and it's occurring within her mind. There were a couple of other things in the title sequence which I thought were quite interesting. There was a billy goat that we saw on 2 occasions. Once where it was in its normal form, and a second time where it looked as though it was dead. Billy goats are said to be representative of fertility in women, so the fact that we went on to see the goat looking like it was in a terrible state, it could be something that's alluding to the fact that it's all going to go wrong with Anna and the baby that she's trying to have. Is Mrs Preecher real? What's interesting about this character is that there are elements that make you feel like they are real, but then there are parts that make you think that they're not. For example, when she walked into the clinic, she was acknowledged by the members of staff that worked there. Plus, there was also the photo of Anna that appeared online that Mrs Preecher took inside of the clinic. However, the parts that make me question her existence is that she appeared in the crowd of the talk show that Anna was on, and then she just disappeared in the blink of an eye. And then there was also that hallucinative vision that Anna had when she was on the chair being examined. Personally, I think she is real, but Anna is using her image to represent a dark part of her mind. During the vision that Anna had, Mrs. Preecher was seen to be wearing a red gown that looked like it could have been associated with a satanic cult. It was different to the doctors that were in the room. With her name also being Preacher, and preachers normally preaching about religion, I feel she could be a preacher of something far darker. So I think it's all very much in the name. So at the moment, we've seen the real version of her, but I think we've also seen a version that lives inside of Anna's mind too. Overall review. I thought this first episode wasn't actually that bad. It doesn't look as though it's going to be as heavy of a story when compared to season 11. The previous season was all about the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, and it was rather sad to watch at times. Whereas this one feels like it's definitely channeling dark forces and leaning into the horror and supernatural element of the show that originally made it so good. This episode most definitely set up a lot of questions for the season, such as who is Mrs. Preecher? Who's the mysterious woman with the sharp shoes? What's the importance of Adeline? Is Anna imagining this all herself? Along with many other things too. So it's good to see that it's already got a lot of discussion points. I just hope that they deliver with the results. Emma Roberts was good in this first episode and she played the role well. However, Kim Kardashian, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the biggest fan of hers. She felt like an NPC just uttering lines back in response. It even felt like the NPC delay when she was speaking. So I'm interested to see just how much her character will develop over the coming episodes. She hasn't had to do too much and it's already been quite underwhelming. So if there's anything more required, it could actually end up providing some light entertainment amongst the story. I'm intrigued to see where this season is going to go from here. I do think it's such a shame that this season has been split into 2 parts and we're only getting the first 4 episodes in one batch. And then we'll have to have an elongated period of time where there's then a break and we'll then have to come back for part 2. I find it just disrupts the story sometimes, and if it's not originally been created for that purpose and there's no true mid-season finale, it can feel extremely underwhelming and quite jarring. So I hope that isn't the case. All I can say for now is bring on the next episode. So, there you have it, American Horror Story Season 12 Episode 1 Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, Theories and Predictions and Character Breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of this first episode? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.